Hey there, hi. Hi, I'm Linda Kay Gifford, and my God is not an asshole. That's what I'm here to say. Is your God an asshole? Does your God say that people who are raped need to be grateful for the life that was created? Does every child that was born of rape, uh, I don't know how to say this tactfully, need to be granted once we are here? Every one of us is divine, however we got into being. But forcing someone to carry the child of a rapist when they don't want to, if that is their choice and that is their belief, then they will find peace with it because their belief structure says to them, I believe that God, blah, blah. Personally, I think that's a bunch of crap. And that's what I'm here to say. You can do what you want with your God, your religion, but religions are just manifestations of your own personal beliefs. They aren't finite things. Religions are not givens. They're not real. They are constructs that we make. And that's a wonderful thing. I enjoy religion. I have a couple of shelves of religious texts. I enjoy reading them. My father was a theologian with master's degrees in ancient history, psychology, and theology. I grew up discussing religion, being fascinated by religion, going to various churches. I enjoy going from everything from mosques to temples, any sort. That's me. You do you, but that's the point. Keep your laws off of other people's bodies. And this is a deeper dive. I'm Linda Kay Gifford, and we are taking a deeper dive into the concept of sexuality, society, and spirit here on Sundays. My background, and I've been getting questions on this. I guess I've never just laid it all out. So here's the origin story. I am Linda Kay Gifford, and I am the survivor of 7 years of childhood sexual assault. Beginning at the age of 11, I was groomed. It didn't all happen at once. It happened over years, to the point that I was eventually having regular sex with my then eldest sister, much elder sister's husband, also seriously several years older than her. I have spent my life hating kill him for the most part. And I didn't decide anything actually. It came to me recently that they say you need to forgive. And I've always said, no, forgiveness is overrated. And I still believe that. And I still think rapists deserve the death penalty on the first rape. So I'm not giving anybody a pass, but I am saying that society is setting everyone, including men, up to think of young girls as sexual, fuckable people. And that is a societal problem that needs to stop because none of us are safe. I will never know that my children or my children's children are safe in the society as long as we keep the paradoxes going that allow people to look at a 14-year-old girl as somebody that is sexy. Those thoughts, that should not even come into the picture. I mean, to look at somebody who is an adolescent and think about, what they're going to turn into. I'll give you an example. My own father, he liked to sing and dance in shows in my hometown of Hermann, Missouri. And he was in the Rotunda show and various plays and musicals and things. And one time he did the song, Thank Heavens for Little Girls, because little girls get bigger every day. You know the song? It's really disgusting when you think about it. Thank heavens for little girls. They grow up in the most delightful ways. Those little eyes so helpless and appealing one day will flash and send you crashing to the ceiling. Thank heavens for little girls. Thank heavens for them all, no matter where, no matter who. Without them, what would little boys do, right? They're talking about little girls and how you're going to be able to fuck her someday. That's what that song is about. It's disgusting. So it's no wonder, really, that It's no wonder that girls try to be sexy when they're 12. It's no wonder that men look at any girl who's starting to develop, and they develop early because of all the freaking crap in the food, but that's a whole nother subject, as somebody that one can have sex with. It's disgusting, but that is what we set up in society. It's a paradox that needs to end. As human beings first, then we need to create a society where everybody is looked at as a human being first, not their gender, not their viability as somebody you can fuck. Yeah, I'm using the F word a lot today. I've been trying not to cuss, but I just can't find a substitute for fuckable. Somebody have an idea? What's a substitute for the word fuckable? Because you know what? Adolescents aren't fuckable, and neither are teenagers. And I'm so disgusted. So we're going to wrap up. I'm going to kind of wrap up what we've been talking about this week. I like to do that on Sunday. And I'm also going to tell you what we're going to be talking about next week. On Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I actually teach you lessons in trigger management. Sunday is my day to rant and rave and say whatever I feel and tie it all together and talk about God and society and my opinions beyond just trigger management and beyond trying to help you as a coach. So this, I'm going to take a lot of liberties on Sundays. And this week, I'll tell you what, we touched on disassociation, trying to explain to the people. A lot of what I'm doing is explaining to people who put me down, who call me a tramp, who say I should have known better and all these things. And trying to have, instead of saying, fuck you, asshole, I'm trying to have this. I'm trying to have a literary conversation. I'm trying to actually teach you something, convince you of something, make you see something, expand your mind. So if you can do that, if you just want to hate on me, fine, chat away and tell me what you want. But if you want to understand dissociation and why women submit without a fight and then say they were raped, and then there's a big fight in court, well, you didn't fight back, whatever, blah, 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 because you froze, right? Well, who would freeze? Everyone would fight. They say, no. Science doesn't say that. The science of how your mind works and how reflexes work and how fear and the fight, flight, or freeze response works, that science is clear. It doesn't matter. Like I said this week, again, touching on this week's topics, you can't think your way out of body memory, and you can't think your way out of instant response either. So when you feel mortally threatened, unless you are trained in self-defense, then most likely, man, woman, or child, you will freeze. And this is why I'm a big advocate for self-defense training. And I said I would tell that story this week, and then I never did. I said that in my live stream, never did. And it's been brought up to me by two different people that I neglected to tell you the story. So I'm going to tell you one story of when self-defense worked for me. And God bless him, I can't remember his last name, but Ralph from Columbia, Missouri, he was a jiu-jitsu instructor who taught self-defense to a lot of us women for free. This man taught me how to kill with a hairpin. I kid you not. Hairpin, pull it out, unfold it, jab it in their ear. He taught me to carry a big stick, literally, a baton. You have to check the legality of that in your state. I used to carry a taser, actually, in Kansas, but I had the right legally to do so because I was threatened by a stalker for years when I was in a band and had some weird stalker after me. What we're going to do this week is focus on empowerment. This week, I want to do some guided meditations. I've been working through some guided meditation therapy to reset my own mind, because as much as I tell you and as much as I coach the people that I talk with and coach on keeping the right mindset it's a challenge. It is a challenge when you have PTSD, and especially if you, like myself and most of you who watch me, either you have CPTSD or somebody you know does. And what CPTSD is, it's complex. So tying together complex post-traumatic stress syndrome with what I was just discussing, disassociation, I want to remind you what we talked about earlier this week, and go back to this week's live streams on the playlist, the lessons playlist, if you're interested in diving in deeper. But to reiterate, this fight, flight, or freeze response that's instantaneous is all part of this disassociation. We disassociate because when we were young and being assaulted, which I really, really encourage you to use the word assault, not abuse, when it comes to sexual situations as a child. Because if you were involved with somebody in a sexual capacity as a child, you were being assaulted. However non-violent it might have been, I was not violently assaulted. I was drugged assaulted. I was coerced. Beyond coerced, for me, it was just, I was a child that tried to do everything right. I got straight A's. I never even considered not. One time, my dad, I love my dad, but I remember when I had 100% in science class in the 7th grade, Mr. Palmer's class. That's how big of a memory it is. I can tell you the grade and the name of the teacher. And I showed my dad, and he said that the superintendent's son, Mike Boger, hi, Mike, had 103. What? I must not have done the extra credit. That's the pressure that I grew up under. I never considered not getting straight A's. I never got beat. I never got yelled at. Nothing like that. It was just understood in my household that you would be a top student. It was understood. And I took that to the extreme in everything I tried. I was a candy striper at the hospital, a volunteer candy striper. I was a senior scout. I went through Girl Scouts. At the time I was being raped regularly, I was a Girl Scout. All the way through senior scouts. I went to camp. I hosted camps for the young girls. I kept straight A's. I was on the tumbling team. I was a cheerleader. I was on the honor society. So it's possible to be extremely successful and still be being raped regularly. And so many people, I don't want to believe me. People, and I don't mean that even a negative, people that love me even don't want to believe me. It's like, no, how is this possible? How did we miss this? And that's why I'm on here. Because y'all missed it. And you're all missing it with your own children and your own families. And you're telling people not to talk. You think it's such a weird thing, when it happens, you keep it and hide it under the rug. Well, I'm here to say, and this is what we're talking about this week. This whole week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, our lessons are in empowerment and advocating. And whether or not you want to fess up with your story in the manner, I'm going big, obviously, with it. And I admit, when I started this, I did it initially to torture my brother-in-law. That is why I started writing this book, and I started really thinking back my own experience, and for the first time, seeing myself as the victim instead of a guilty co-conspirator, realizing, my God, I was a child. I don't recall ever being happy about the situation. I recall being very unhappy about it, crying, blacking out, escaping into the woods. Yet still, it took me decades to figure out, I was not just abused, I was assaulted and assaulted and assaulted over and over again. And there's no way I could have known better because I was a child. So please, draw the line between child and adult. When you're thinking about who you want to sleep with, when you're catcalling a girl walking down the street, think about it for a minute. think about if that was your child, if that was your daughter, whatever her age. Is that the society you want them to be in? When you're with your guy friends doing the man talk, as they like to call it, or whatever. I mean, which is a bunch of bullshit. And I have a lot of guy friends, and I believe most of the ones, at least the ones I'm close to, don't associate in that kind of a thing because they're on a higher intellectual plane than that. But if you want to keep perpetuating, basically, you can't have your cake and eat it too. So if you want to protect your daughter, your wife, your sister, your mother, then you're going to have to examine yourself, and you're going to have to give up the kind of banter that is harmful. You need to realize that it's harmful. You need to realize that you're setting societal standards, that while you may say boys will be boys, these standards in the hands and the minds of other people than yourself might turn into willingness to rape a child, willingness to overlook the fact that someone is a child. Most people who have sexually abused children like to blame it. In fact, my abuser blamed it on me. Even back then, it was my eyes. I was too pretty. It was the way I looked at him. I have a song called Little Girl on a CD that I put out called A Bed for My Boots. It's just a weird name, I know, but I was just looking. I put the boots on the floor of an empty room, and I was thinking, you know, the old adage is, when I'm at home, when I finally know that I'm home with another human being, then, you know, the old cowboy thing, you know he's yours and he cares about you if his boots are there in the morning. If his boots are gone, he's gone. If you wake up, the boots are there. Well, I just kind of flipped that, and I was thinking, I've got the boots and no bed. I've got the boots on the floor, willing to be part of something big with somebody, some kind of a relationship. But I've never in my entire life pulled that off. So part of my deeper dive is, you know, my exploration of all of this stuff. So yeah, I've been married and divorced 3 times. And I did love each of them. But based on what I've learned in therapy and what I've observed in life and what's happened to my heart and mind becoming a mother and learning to be protective and all of this, I realize that I'm really kind of just embarking on my first relationship. And I wonder if you're like this. I wonder if any of you can relate to this. I really just figured this out today, last night and today, and was talking about it with my partner. I was like, I guess it seems weird because to most people, not most people, I shouldn't say that, because there's so many sexual abuse, assault survivors that many people, I believe, feel like I do. That's why I'm going to talk about it. The norm seems to be saying that, like, everybody you were ever involved with, that you had, it starts with a passion that then grows into a relationship, and then the passion fades away, and then the relationship goes away. Or else they stick around in a not passionate relationship for the kids or whatever, or they think, that's how life is. It's not about the passion. And for me, I married all 3 of my husbands out of a sense of friendship and shared interests. But not one of them did I have a physical passion for. Sorry, guys, just telling the truth. I wasn't physically passionate. I expressed physical passion. I enjoyed sex. You know, I think we all somewhat do. And And I didn't at that time realize that there was a higher plane. So I thought I had it right. I thought I was doing the right thing. So I'm just giving you some retrospect. In retrospect, it is my opinion, it's my belief now that because I didn't let passion lead the way into my relationships, they were destined to fail. Because I 100% believe that you cannot separate, you cannot fall apart from a passion partner. I don't care if you've been married for 2 years or 22 years. If you and someone else grow apart, there was never, in my book, and I could be wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. Talk to me. Talk to me. I will come back and chat after the fact. I've just started live streaming. Nobody knows I'm on here. I don't expect live stream chats going on right now, although it'd be nice. But I do want to talk about it with anybody that'll come on, and I will talk and comment on every thread and continue the discussion. So I'm curious. So what I'm getting at is for the first time in my life, I'm in a relationship that what led the way had nothing to do with any life fit. We have no life fit. We live in separate cities. But the air around this person is sweeter. I don't know how to explain it. My body races when I look to see him. I mean, the first time I saw him on video after 27 years, my heart just, I can't explain it, but my whole body just vibrated, and it still does. And so I'm experiencing, I know I'm being very personal here, and the names are protected. The names will be withheld to protect the innocent. But I'm just giving it a lot of food for thought. A lot of food for thought. I have told so many people I loved them that the word has lost romantic meaning. There has to be a better word. So I'm thinking it out. I'm thinking about all these concepts of life fit versus passion. Someone once told me that you needed both. And I think that there's some truth there too. But I also think that with real passion, life fit is created. Like I would move heaven and earth. I am literally moving out of this city to be closer. I need to be with this person for no reason other than my physical and mental reaction to them. And I encourage you and my children and everyone else to go for that. It is my opinion that that is so much more important, because even if my partner were in a terrible car accident and we could never make love again, the foundation is already laid to where I would happily push his wheelchair for the rest of my life, just because I could never lose. So that was the other part of the argument was, well, what happens when the passion fades? It's like, well, real passion doesn't fade. It can morph. It can change. You can get older. You can lose your ability to make love. I haven't got there, thank God. But I realize those things happen and probably are potentially down the road should we live long enough. But if you go into it because you don't have a choice other than in a good way, in a, wow, this just feels good. That is so much, has so much more potential. And I encourage you, just like I encouraged my children, to seek that. And that doesn't mean seek a bunch of sexual experience. And that's the other thing that we talked about this week that I'll bring up now, again, because this is the recap. Masturbation was one of the topics of my last live stream, actually, on Wednesday. Sorry I missed Thursday, but I told you guys I had hospital tests, all of which came back out. Great, yay. So back to masturbation. Recap on masturbation. It is the best thing. Obviously, you're not going to teach your kids, but you're going to tell them this is a great thing. Sexual fulfillment. It would be better off to be done by yourself than risking diseases, than risking pregnancies, than risking broken hearts. Basically, people's sexual desires drive them into situations that are unhealthy for them. But masturbation is the answer to your sexual desires. Sexual fulfillment doesn't have to. If it has to include another human being for you, then that's a whole different kind of need. That's not just a I need an orgasm need. That's a need for a partner, and that's different. And the problem is, and I've learned this also in, master's level classes in communications, interpersonal and organizational communications, gender communications, relationship communications. You learn that what we will do is fill in every blank. We will fill in every blank because we want to get laid. I'm going to be blunt. That's what it is. We want to get laid, but we want to be good and righteous. So we're going to fill in blanks. We're going to believe in our hearts that we love someone that we don't. We're going to believe we can get along with someone even though we see red flags. We're going to not look for red flags and we're going to call it love when really we just want to get laid. Everybody does. Man, woman, and even, yes, you're having sexual awakenings as a teenager, but that doesn't mean you need to have sex as a teenager. It means we need to open our minds up and make sure that masturbation is not put down in our churches, in our society. My mother, I'm going to reiterate, I said this last live stream, my mother blew my mind actually when my nephew was playing quite avidly with himself in the yard. Quite young, obviously he didn't know any better. And my mom said to him that we don't do that in front of other people. We do that when we are alone. She didn't say don't do that. She didn't say there's anything wrong with you jacking your stuff in the yard. Well, in the yard part. She said we don't do that in front of other people. And that was such good advice because she didn't scare him. She didn't say, stop it. Get your hand out of your pants. She didn't make him go like, oh, my penis feels amazing when I play with it, but that's horrible, bad thing. I mean, how confusing is that? So get over the masturbation thing, okay? You want to stop teen pregnancy? Teach people that masturbation is a healthy thing. God loves masturbation. That's what I'm saying. Back to, is your God an asshole? My God is not an asshole. My God would never stage a rape to make a person come into being. So back to the top again, I want to reiterate what we said earlier this week. Do not, a lot of things you should not say to a sexual assault survivor. I know this because, as you know, I am one, and there are things that just really get to me. Don't say you know how I feel. You do not know how I feel unless you have been raped. If you know, even if you have been raped, you don't know how another rape victim feels. And if you have been violently sexually assaulted, you don't know how it feels to grow up being assaulted so regularly that it's a way of life. That even when you know it's wrong, you don't know how to make it stop. You're already guilty, so you don't know how to tell. You know everyone's going to look at you differently because our religion and everyone says that we're ruined. If a penis has been in our body, no one's going to want us, right? That's what a lot of religions teach. And so even if it's because of rape, it doesn't change the fact that that penis has still been in the body. You still feel ruined. So stop telling people that their worth, women especially, that their worth is defined by their purity. Because when 1 in 3 women, and that's just who report, have or will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime, chances are that most everybody can really identify with this, either through their own experience or somebody close to them. So the way to destigmatize is to teach people like me. If I had known that I wasn't ruined, things would have been different. But I felt ruined immediately, early on. And my parents, my dad was a Methodist minister, but he gave up the ministry for teaching and counseling. And he wasn't really hardcore religious. He taught us And we had many discussions about how religion fits into society, how people create God, people create religions. And it's not a bad thing unless you make it a bad thing, unless you try to use it as a control factor. When religion is an expression of the goodness and love and kindness that you feel, then all the rituals can be fun and interesting. They're different all over the world. How fun is that? But when you start trying to control other people with your religious doctrine and say, I'm right and you're wrong, and God said so, it's always trouble. It's always trouble. It's not going to work. God is not an asshole. God doesn't rape girls to make people come into being. So don't, on the don't list, don't tell someone who has been raped that, well, at least they should be grateful for this miracle of a pregnancy. Bringing me to society. What the hell is wrong with you? What the hell is wrong with people voting to restrict the rights of transgender youth to medicine, to medical help? Just because you don't feel that you are of a gender different than what your genitals came out doesn't mean everybody feels like you. I've said this before. It's my favorite meme. I'm going to bring it up again. It says, the first thing you need to know about me is I'm not you. After that, everything will make a lot more sense. Okay? Remember that. Why are so many Americans hell-bent on making other Americans be like them instead of appreciating the diversity that we have? But whether you appreciate it or not, it's not going to change a damn thing. Some people are gay. Some people are bisexual. Some people are all different types of asexual. Get over it. You know who the real perv is? Who the real perv is the person who cares about what other people do in bed together. When I see a straight couple, I don't imagine them having sex. So why in the world, when I see a gay couple, would I imagine them having sex? And even if I did, how do I say this delicately? No delicate way. Anal sex is something that even heterosexuals enjoy sometimes. It is really what you have a problem with. It's really, I guess it is. I mean, you think that, but guess what? Sodomy goes all the way back as far as people do, and it's not really aberrant behavior. It's normal behavior that we have tried to marginalize for millennia. So again, get over people doing what they want to do. People doing what they want to do with their bodies, with other humans. As long as people aren't hurting anybody and they're having a good time, then if you are in your mind in their bedroom, you're the perv. You're the one with the problem. You're the psycho. I taught my children from a very young age, do not judge a person by what's in their pants, and don't rule them out by what's in their pants either. When you have a connection with someone, you'll know it. One of my son's friends had never, ever thought of himself or known that he could be bisexual. And then he fell in love with a man who he now lives with and has for a couple of years. And they're very happy because his parents, like me, taught him, kind of like Auntie taught, actually. What we did was not teach our children to view people first off by their gender. The first thing that you should judge is a person's heart and soul. If you feel an attraction and you fight that attraction, that doesn't mean you should jump in bed with everybody that you feel attraction for. I'm just saying, to feel real attraction to someone, to really feel connected and then have actual physical stirrings and then deny it, you're going to end up, that's kind of like the trauma that us abuse survivors or sexual assault survivors, or any kind of PTSD, war, survivor guilt, we take these things and we push them down, and we push them way down into the bottom of our hearts and souls and minds, and we try to hide them. It's the same kind of thing. If you have an attraction to someone and then you refuse truth and reality when it's staring you in the face, that's just one more thing you're going to be repressing and sitting on. It's going to cause you problems and anxiety that it might take, like me, it might take you a couple of decades to get a grip and go, oh my gosh, why wasn't I empowered enough to be honest with myself and be honest with my feelings? So I think everyone, in my opinion, I think everyone should start from a place of bisexuality. I personally I'll be honest, I've never been with a woman, and I never wanted to be. But if I wanted to be, I would be. That's the point. So I'm heterosexual. That's just who I am. On the other hand, maybe I'm bi. Maybe someday I'll fall in love with a woman. I'm already in love with someone now, though, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So just saying, the point is, keep an open mind. Keep an open mind. So this week, more about empowerment, more about manifesting. I want to talk about, we've talked about it before, but I want to talk more intensively. We talked about the rabbit hole and disassociation this week, and how you're precursing a little bit here, and how your mind literally, if you are abused as a child or neglected or assaulted repeatedly, your brain will stop growing connections between the part of your mind that takes in information and the part that stores it neatly, gives it chronological order and meaning and a sense of time. This is why rape and trauma victims often can't create a timeline that makes sense, because it's so jumbled and it never gets put into the solid memory. In the case of complex PTSD, that was on purpose. Your body as a child is still growing. Your brain is still growing. And your brain is like, this is too much to take. I can't do this. It's too much trauma. It's too upsetting. I can't be a star student and a Girl Scout and a candy striper and also be sexually assaulted all the time. But I can't stop the sexual assault. At least in my mind, I didn't think I could at that time. So instead, my brain and yours, if you are like me, if you have CPTSD from childhood, stopped forming connections. Therefore, it is particularly different and difficult, and new science actually, that we now know it's not just about recovery, it's not just about rethinking, it's about potentially finding ways to grow, to either grow new connectivity, or your brain is amazing in the way that it can reroute and do things. So through training, through proper guided meditations and training, you can literally reprogram your mind. And that is what I have been working on for the last several days. And I've got some guided meditations we're going to do this week. Probably throw some extra sessions in just to do some guided meditations. I have to figure out how to do it. I need to play it so you can hear it. I'll figure it out. A little technical fun there, but I will figure it out. Because these guided meditations, I find really, really do help me. And the science says that we need to reprogram our minds. So I'm going to get back to the top again. When I first started, I told you about the story I didn't tell, and then I didn't tell it again because I tangented off again. So let's tell the story. I no longer freeze. And the reason I don't freeze is because that guy I told you about earlier, Ralph, and others, I've taken other self-defense classes, but he was the one that really stuck with me, taught us self-defense. So I'm a musician. I play the flute. I was playing at a bar, and there was a very nice, very well-dressed man, very well-spoken, who was in the parking lot when I was leaving late. And he said that his friends, he lived nearby and his friends had evidently taken off without him. And would I mind dropping him off? And I was like, sure, I'll drop you off. It was brightly lit. We're downtown. He didn't live far. I was trying to be nice because I'm like that. So we get in the car and he's like, I'm like, so where do you need to go? And he's like, well, where are you going? I'm like, well, I'm going home, where I was. And I had friends coming over and all. And he's like, well, I want to go to your home. And I was like, well, that's not going to happen because I don't know you. And I have people waiting for me. Well, let me go meet your friends. No, where do you live? He wouldn't tell me. So I immediately drove to the most well-lit place I could find, which was right in front of the hospital. Right in front of the hospital, which is right by downtown in Springfield, Illinois. And I didn't obviously let him know what I was going to do. I just stopped the car in the middle of the street under a light. And in one quick move, I put it in park, took the keys out, got out of my door, shut my door, and walked around the car. And I opened his door. And he was like totally confused. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, get out of my car. He's like, well, can't you take me home? I'm like, you won't tell me where your home is. Well, I'll tell you now. No, you lost your chance. Get out of my car. So he was still not getting out of my car at this point. So I put my foot, here's what I did. I put my foot up against, like I opened, his door was open. So I put it like right behind where the door, between the two doors. So I was stable. I grabbed him like this, boom. I flipped him out of the car in one pull onto the street. Then he tried to grab me. He tried to grab my legs. And so as soon as he got, like he goes like this, right? And so I kicked him in the nuts. And then he was grabbing his nuts and crying, rolling on the street. I locked his door, shut it, quickly went back around my side, got in, shut it, locked it, drove off, leaving him crying in the street. And that's a lot better than freezing, but I was trained. There's a reason we train cops. There's a reason we train military. I was actually in ROTC, Army ROTC, believe it or not. I quit because my master sergeant sexually harassed me. And I'm considering a lawsuit. I'm considering a lawsuit at this point because you know what? I enjoyed ROTC and I only quit because of being called out of class constantly by a master sergeant who was married and always trying to get me, just to talk to me. And at that time, I didn't know what else to do. I would sit in his office and talk to him during class time because I was a product of my generation. And I should have at that point. I did go complain to him once to a female sergeant and she essentially gave me the Thomas Jefferson runner. I know you doth protest too much kind of thing. You're never going to get anywhere if you bitch. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to be able to be in this organization then. So I quit ROTC. And I was in the top 3. I was up for a scholarship that would have paid all of my tuition and my rent and give me a monthly allowance. And I quit. And they promised me I'd go to Germany from a German town, sprechen Deutsch, ich bin von Hermann, Missouri, ein kleines deutschen Volk. Und Gefährden nach Deutschland. Sounds great. I thought that'd be awesome. Go brush up, actually learn some German instead of just book learn it and town learn it. But no. So I feel like I was screwed out of the Army, screwed out of ROTC. But again, I felt helpless. I was in a system where women don't have any recourse. And here's the deal, I still am. Now we have a movement. Now we're, again, speaking up. I mean, the Equal Rights Amendment's been on the table since 1972, and we can't get you to pass that. 1972 on the table, and we can't pass an Equal Rights Amendment because women voters are so screwed over by the patriarchy that they actually believe this. They either believe this stuff, or as we talked about earlier this week, these conservative women, they try to be the best bad woman, as I put it, the most righteous, conservative, man-loving bad woman. Woman-hating, man-loving woman. If you're a woman-hating, man-loving woman, you probably shouldn't be on my live stream, or else maybe you should get a clue and listen to me, because we're done. We're done. And if you think that God stages rape, if you want to force girls to carry babies of rapists, if you're going to put doctors in prison for providing abortion services, I've had two voluntary abortions. I'm not proud of it, but I'm not upset by it either. I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of it. It's just a thing. It wasn't the time for me to have children. Both of my abortions were voluntary and at a time when I was an adult and could have made that decision. One was after I already had 2 children and before I had the third, but it wasn't the right time. I don't feel the need to grow every potential seed. I'm an avid gardener. If every sprout, if all of the trees that try to grow in my garden were allowed to grow, there'd be no garden. There'd be no food. There'd be no nothing. That is my personal belief. I'm not pushing it on you, but I have the right to believe it. And I have the right to control my own body and to body autonomy. And so do you, and so does everyone else. So keep your laws of our bodies, because if you think that gerrymandering districts and stacking the Supreme Court and all this stuff is going to win in the end, you are wrong. And what's happening, and here's my biggest fear, is that we are truly headed for a civil war. The crazies aren't playing, and they actually think there are so many people in this world that won't get over this concept that they are right and everybody else is wrong, so they need to witness. And that's the thing that religions really go wrong, teaching people to witness for Christ, to witness for whatever. No. What we should be doing is witnessing how other people appreciate God and life. We should be witnessing the love and kindness in others despite the differences, and we should be adding that all up and making a cohesive picture in our minds, not trying to convince them that we are right and they're wrong and they're going to go to hell and blah, blah, blah. That's another story. I died once and I came back and I had an afterlife experience that many people, upon having an afterlife experience, they feel sure that the afterlife is this solid thing. And despite my afterlife experience, which was very vivid, it did not leave me with a sense that I'm going to exist in the same type of form. It gave me the sense that I was on my way back into the energy field. So I will talk about that more, but not today. Just throwing that in there. That'll probably come up this week. So this is a deeper dive where I do tend to be on here longer, but I think I've been on here quite a while now. Let me just actually check my notes. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. Let's see. My God is not an asshole. God doesn't rape people to make other people come into being. God doesn't rape someone because you needed to be here. That's why God had you raped, because he thought that this guy's seed needed to be in you so that you... No, that's not real. I don't care what your religion is. If you think that, that's not real. Something else we're going to talk about this week is... Oh, and this one might get me killed for real. I've had threats. I've had death threats. But I'm going to say it again. Your daddy and your mommy and nobody else has no business deciding who you marry, who you touch, who you do anything with. If you are in a culture where your father has control of your vagina, then that's messed up and you need to get out. You need to have that conversation. You need to change your life. You need to leave it. There are some things that are just intolerable. There are some things you can't have an opinion on. You can't have an opinion on what I do with my vagina. And you can't have an opinion on who gets to marry who based on their gender. And you don't get to have an opinion on whether someone feels they are a man or a woman. You don't get to have an opinion on that. I don't care if I was born with a dick and I feel the way I do. I'm a girl. If I had a dick, I'd still be a girl. And it's none of your goddamn business what other people call themselves. So stay out of other people's lives, why don't you, okay? I'm a lot nicer Tuesday through Thursday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we talk lessons. But this is Sunday school. And I'm here to preach. So I'm going to preach love and goodness and kindness and body autonomy and equal rights. And I expect you to do the same. Come back on Tuesday and we're going to dive deep into why, essentially, here's what's happening Tuesday. Tuesday, we're talking about the way to have a good relationship is to stop trying so damn hard. You want to have a good relationship? Stop trying. Stop trying to have one. Because you're creating false realities. If a good relationship presents itself, you will know it if you stop trying to create your reality. And we're going to talk a lot about that. We're going to talk about manifesting what you want, be it money, relationships, peace of mind. We're going to talk about that this week. And we're very seriously going to talk about and get you programmed to stop trying so hard, because the things that are real come naturally. Try hard to be a decent person, to be good and kind and understanding, and everything else will fall in place. I mean, my life is manifesting beautifully. I don't have anyone to turn to. I used up all my savings to keep my business afloat. I own feelgoodfairtrade.com, and hardly anyone bought anything over the pandemic, but we kept afloat. Many of our suppliers went under, but many, many more did not. We are all rebuilding our lives. So to me, my saying I'm manifesting all these wonderful things in my life, that doesn't mean my life is smooth sailing perfect. I've got all kinds of car troubles and financial troubles and whatever. But you know what is smooth sailing and almost perfect is my state of mind, finally. My state of acceptance of myself. Now I can tackle the financial problems, the business problems, the opportunities, the partnership with a person I'm crazy about. And now I can do all those things without this huge amount of stress. And the stress, you think the stressors in your life are about those things. Oh, I've got relationship problems. I've got money problems. I'm worried. No, the stressors in your life are from your fighting yourself, fighting society, fighting your own feelings. Everything else can be managed. And we do that. So, Linda Kay Gifford, childhood sexual abuse survivor. Thank you, survivor. And it's a good thing to be. If you're in the club, don't feel bad about it. And the last concept I'm going to reiterate, because we're talking about this whole week. This week, I brought up every live stream the past week. I brought up the filing system. Your mind is a home office. So take all the bad things that ever happened to you, all the things you don't want to happen, the things that did happen, put them away. But now you're not going to put them back inside and stuff them down and stand on them. You're going to put them in the open on a shelf in your mental home office where you can see it. And you're going to say, that is part of me. I am a sexual abuse survivor. I'm a sexual assault survivor. I am a whatever I am. I am a PTSD. I'm a war survivor. That's who I am. And that's okay. And I'm not going to open that file, and I'm not going to live in that file, and I'm not going to throw it all over my desk and look at it. I'm going to put it in the open so that I never forget that this is what I'm never going to do or be again. No one's ever going to hurt me again. And I'm not going to let them, because I'm going to keep that file in the open. And I'm only going to open it when I need material out of it, instead of pushing it. When you push it down, what happens is it opens whenever the hell it wants to. And the PTSD triggers just come and come and come. you will alleviate these constant PTSD triggers somewhat by acknowledging what happened to you, acknowledging that it was not your fault, acknowledging that children are not in control of these things, and you will find great peace. Namaste. I don't usually say that. It just felt like it because we're going to do guided meditations this week. I wish you love. I wish you peace. Most of all, I wish you self-actualization. Good night. Talk to you Tuesday. Tuesday at 6. Live.